I recently had a really good day. I was hoping it would be a kind of average, boring, plain day because I wanted to prove a point, but it ended up being a good day, and I'm going to share it with you. One of the stars of this very good, interesting day is this blue guy. I think he's a yabby or some kind of freshwater cray. Look at his little grabbing hand. Um, the reason that I wanted this day to be a boring, plain, average day was that I wanted to make a video about finding inspiration in the ordinary. But what happened instead was I went for a day out with my family and it ended up being full of interesting, cool stuff that I wanted to draw. So here we find ourselves just in the midst of a plain old video about cool stuff I want to draw. So I hope that's okay with you. I still want to talk about finding inspiration in the ordinary, or in the very least, talk about the process of searching for it and seeking inspiration. Because after I made all these drawings from this very cool, interesting day, I basically found myself kind of stuck. I think in my case, part of it is I'm trying a lot of new techniques and I'm doing a lot of process-based work. I was thinking about it this morning. I'm a really results-driven person. So I like to be able to look at what I've done and see tangible results. And I've been trying to work on my skills as a painter. And that seems to be a much more process-driven practice than my illustration practice is. And it's kind of freaking me out a little bit, I think. So I've really found myself getting a bit stuck over the past few weeks. After I made all the drawings and paintings that you're going to see in this video, I kind of have stalled a little bit. I've been doing a little bit of drawing, but not feeling very happy with it. I've been doing all my commercial work. That kind of flows pretty steadily, and I don't really mess with that process too much. But in my personal work and in the stuff that I share on here, I've been finding a lot that I'm just feeling a little bit lost again, as I so often do. Part of the creative wheels spinning, I guess. So I suppose I'll talk a little bit about what I'm planning on doing. I think one of the first things that I'm going to work on is a really consistent, steady practice, really fighting that desire to just procrastinate and turn away. I'm just going to have to get stuck in. There's going to have to be some rules. I think one of the most helpful things when you're feeling stuck is to just keep showing up. So if that's a 21-day challenge or a 100-day challenge or 10 minutes a day, just some kind of consistent practice that you can't make excuses for, you have to show up for, and just to get a few runs on the board. So the second thing I'm going to do is work in either a series or collection or under some sort of themes, or even maybe mess around with some prompt lists, which I will happily share with you guys if you're interested in those. Just so that there are some boundaries and structure, a jumping off point really, so you don't have to think too hard when you go to sit down. All the things that you see in this little video, I think I could turn into a pretty solid prompt list just from a single day. I was kind of keeping my eyes open and things just kept appearing and turning up that were perfect jumping off points for if you were stuck on what to draw, which kind of reinforces my whole idea of what I wanted to talk about in this video, which was trying to find some inspiration just in whatever you run across during the day. But it isn't every day that I run across mushrooms like those. So I was pretty excited about this whole thing. But there's things that we run across in our everyday that I think are equally as beautiful or interesting. It's just that we see them all the time. So the act of being able to admire and elevate the very usual things that we see is kind of a really special skill of creatives. And I think one that we should always really honor and appreciate. But if you are genuinely stuck in your pursuit of drawing inspiration from the everyday and finding the magic in the ordinary, I think one of the good places to start is the huge things, the weather systems, the environment, the world around you. Obviously, I live out in the country, so a lot of my landscape work is rural landscapes, but cityscapes, wherever you are, there's always the sky, there's always the moon. There is beauty in the difference of all those places too. I think it's just whether or not you choose to capture it and record it and make it meaningful. There's a huge amount of romance and beauty that you can see in metropolitan places, the lights in the windows. I have lived in the suburbs and I've lived in the inner north of Melbourne. It all has its own kind of visual mythos if you can look for it and see it. So I think those big places are a good place to start when you're looking for inspiration in the things that you see every day. And then the next place to turn, I would say, is perhaps the very tiny. I've been thinking a lot about the contrast between the big objects and the small objects. Big objects made small and small objects made large. That's always a fun one to mess around with. I think it's something that I'm going to explore in some upcoming still life drawings, which is another pretty cool avenue to go down if you're stuck for inspiration and looking for things to draw. Making some little still life arrangements from what you can find around you. A little bit of roadside weeds or dandelion flowers or some fruit that you pick up at the supermarket, and any of your other little treasures that you have around the place. I'm just looking at my desk at the moment. There are quite a few little trinkets that might make it into some of my upcoming still life experiments, so we'll see how that goes. But one of the things that I've really, really liked drawing over the past probably 12 months has been really close-up detailed studies of tiny little shells, and really making a big effort to investigate the kind of sculptural, abstract properties of those, which I think you could do with just about anything if you look close enough. I think you could find those qualities in like fruit, flowers, clothing, objects. There's lots to explore in that vein. So we've thought about finding inspiration in big environments, small details. What else? I think something I'm going to plan to try is repetition. I'm really bad with repetition. I'm really touchy about revisiting concepts that I've already kind of dealt with in a way. I mean, obviously the same things always come up in my work, but I have a little bit of difficulty redrawing the same exact thing over and over, and I think I'd really like to have a go at that, just to do like subtle variations, almost reproductions of the same thing, or attempts at reproductions, just to see what happens, to see if it improves. Because I do feel like that's a hole in my practice, is I'll attempt a specific drawing once and then it's done. So I think that's something to explore in searching for inspiration, is to keep revisiting things and to keep trying to come at them from different angles, as well as repeating the same thing over and over in an attempt to hone it down, whittle it away, get it down to its most distilled and purest form. So I guess that's given me something to think about. I hope it's given you something to think about. Let me know in the comments, where do you find your inspiration in the everyday? How are you getting unstuck? Because I am feeling a little bit stuck. Tell me your secrets for getting the magic back and getting the ball rolling again.